Scene 1A, take 2.
If you're a new gardener or an experienced gardener that wants to refresh yourself on the knowledge of fertilizer, you've come to the right place. Fertilizing your plants is one of the most important things you can do as a gardener. Because when you think about it, plants are living organisms. We're living organisms. We need food. And so plants that we plant in our containers or in our ground in our gardens, they're really dependent on us giving it the proper nutrition, which it might get in the wild, but we're not in the wild. We're cultivating plants. So foodie gardeners, one of the most important things to understand about fertilizers is there's a few different types. First of all, there's what you call a starter fertilizer. Starter fertilizers are used when you first plant your tomatoes, your cucumbers, whatever crop you're planting, whatever plant, even if it's a flower. You use Sure Start to help promote vigorous root growth so that it establishes itself. And then you'll see at your garden center all these different types. Oh, we've got tomato vegetable food, we've got citrus food, we've got fruit and berry. Which ones do you use? What information is important on these bags? First thing you need to understand is that every bag of fertilizer, I don't care what it's for, is going to have 3 numbers. This one here in the front at the bottom has 4, 6, 2. Now that's not my measurement, so I don't know what that is. Now what is 462? 462 represents the ratio of number 1, the first number, is your nitrogen. Second number is your phosphorus. The third number is your potassium. Now these are what you call your macronutrients. These are the 3 most important nutrients of the 13 essential nutrients. And believe it or not, there's even more micronutrients. But if you just pay attention to those 3, you're going to be off to a good start. As you become a more experienced gardener, you can geek out and you can learn about all kinds of stuff and blend things. But I find that some of these prepared specialty fertilizers, especially organic ones, they're really important to understand and know how to use. Something that you want to look for, which I think is really important, is that on the list of ingredients, that it has some type of beneficial bacteria. Yes, beneficial bacteria. You want that. It's kind of like probiotics for the soil. Now let me back up a little bit. What do I mean by that? Well, when we say, I'm going to feed my plants, guess what? You're not really feeding your plants. You are feeding the soil. The soil is like the gut for your plants. It processes the fertilizer that you put in it. There's worms in there that are actively eating and dying and all kinds of nutritious things that are breaking down. Well, what happens is when you have beneficial bacteria, it helps the roots of your plants to kind of expand their reach into the soil. And it helps it to suck up those nutrients. And that is really good. But not every starter fertilizer has beneficial bacteria. That's why I like Sure Start. I want you to kind of appreciate why this is a special formula for tomatoes. The numbers, 4, 5, 3. That means that the nitrogen, which is the first number, is a little lower than the middle number, the 5, which is phosphorus. And then it's a little bit more than the potassium. So what is the purpose of the phosphorus? The phosphorus is really essential in any fruiting plant. Number 1, it's responsible for your plant to establish good roots, but it also helps your plant to fruit, to bud. This is really important though. What good is a tomato plant if it's all leaves, right? I hate that. So you can't have that. You've got to have a nice middle phosphorus number. And sometimes there's a warning too. If you see a formula for fertilizer and it's got a really high nitrogen number, and which is your first number, and it's greater than the other ones, that means that your plant will concentrate on growing more leaves and stems than it will for your fruit. So important. Same thing when you look for citrus food. This is going to have the numbers that are great for a vigorous rootstock, for flowering, and also for that fruit to be nice and healthy. Same thing with your vines, your berries, those luscious berries. Takes a lot of energy for that to happen. So look for your specialty formulas. So how do you use these fertilizers? First of all, measure. Every bag has a little chart that shows you how much to measure out for your plant, and whether it's, a little small plant in a container or a bunch of plants in a raised garden bed. So use the proper amount, always measure. Next, make sure that when you apply your fertilizer to your plant, that the soil is moist. Don't apply it to dry soil. Number 3, you want to put it around the plant, not far away, but closer to the main branch, but not on top of it. You just circle it in and scratch it in. After you scratch it in, water it. Always water after fertilizing. And that is how easy it is to fertilize. Now that you understand the basics of fertilizing, I want you guys to go out there and grow something. Comment below if you have any questions. I'm here for you. Look for the Foodie Gardener playlist, and I invite you to follow me on Facebook and on YouTube. Go grow something. I'll see you next week.